Hello, 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 and welcome everyone to the Monday Open. And what a day it is. The King of Pump is back. And yes, we're talking Elon when we say the King of Pump. I hope everyone had a great weekend and you're ready to get things started today. Obviously, we'll be going through everything to do with stocks, commodities, and cryptos. And we'll start off with Tesla. We'll have to go through this big earnings week as well, second largest earnings week of the year not of the year, of the earnings report season. And we also have some volatile times ahead at around the call kind of positive gamma kind of area, which has moved at the moment to about 40 points above where it is right now. But I still think 5,100 is very, very key. Bitcoin also coming under a little bit of fire and cryptos moving down. So the stories of today are Tesla, of course, to start off with. FSD is the big storyline in China. Obviously, we have here Tesla stock store CEO Elon Musk gets self-driving approval in China, and that is making the stock love itself. Realistically, I think it's more than that, though. I think it was the switch of the idea of going from a car company to an AI company or a data company. We knew that this was a relatively critical level. We're going to open up well above that. 189 probably moves into somewhere around this 198 kind of zone. So I think that there's still another $10 of price action to the upside ultimately here in Tesla. And it's probably bottomed off because we've managed to, as of today's open, pending everything's going well, broken above 182, which is a huge deal for the bulls. So now, this is a real physical possibility. And it might be the bottom. That might have been the cheapest price you're going to see for Tesla for a while. Reason? Because now it's an AI company, everyone. It's an AI company. That's what it is. And AI companies, we can value them at higher rates because you say the word AI. So it's always cool. Let's give a shout out here to the first people that are joining us early on. If you can, give it a thumbs up as well. If you enjoy the content we put out here every Monday, that is helpful. We've got Dow Jones Dave. We've got Mr. Silver Hot Dog, Chip, Neil, Lambo, Roman, Mike, Tortvi, Retro Llama with the drop there. Torby, Quill, Supreme, Igor, Michelle, and many, many others. So thank you very much for coming out here for the Monday Open. All right, so Tesla obviously gets the island reversal. We liked that last week. We thought this might be a possibility. Then the king of the pump comes through. And, again, I kind of feel like there's another tenner in this. So even if it pulls back, it'll go to the $10 mark, just underneath 200. And then if we do end up busting through this, ultimately, we're looking at much higher prices, $240, possibly even higher. As they transition into AI, whether it's successful or not initially, I think you'll be able to get yourself one forward guidance, and that forward guidance will be, the robots. So we're going to have, robot discussion over the next couple of years. I think it's going to be a big one in AI and, whatever else. Data. Remember the two pinnacles or the two picks that I have, at least for the next couple of years. Number one, data companies. So what that means is anything that gets data, that has the access to data that can then use it into AI. Obviously, it's my favorite picks from that: Google, Microsoft, and NVIDIA. Yeah, not reinventing the book. But I would also say that speculatively, as we mentioned the other day, Tesla becomes one. Nothing to do with whether I think it's going to be successful or not. These, I believe, are all incredibly solid companies. Tesla, I don't know. It could be. It could not be. I don't know if it's solid or not. But this just becomes cheaper on the AI Ford bandwagon. These are my pillars, though. I love those pillars. Number two, geopolitical. You guys know what that means. We're looking at minerals. We're looking at rocks. We're looking at gold. We're looking at even crypto, to be real, even Bitcoin. So all of those things become quite important. So there you go. The first story of the day is, of course, Tesla. Second story is going to be US 500. Let's take a look at US 500. We'll read a bit of the chat here. So amazed by Tom call Tesla to 140 and then hit it exactly. Thanks, Monica. But yeah, that took a little while. Yeah. I think, look, the more important thing is to not trust the narrative. Obviously the other day we went down, we had that earnings report, the king of the pump came back in. And what we mentioned at the same time is that was a real possibility, and then that would probably change Tesla's bottom. And if that was the way it was going to play, which it did, then we were looking at longs. And since then, it's gone up considerably, even up past that day. So it managed to hold it. Volume was good. And of course, most people were caught with a ton of puts. If I'd shown you the options walls as well, you would have seen options all over the place sitting at the same levels. I was looking at previous earnings on Tesla, and they seem that once it starts pumping, it just squeezes. It's a mixture of calls. So you've got to remember, if you can get retail on board, retail makes up, well, at one point, like 30 to 40% of the trade stock, even more. And that means that, of course, what do? They all buy calls. Calls then feed upon themselves, creating positive gamma situation. And then we get into a feed like this. So that's why it's possible for it to go. It's good news on good news on good news. Whether it's real or not, it just kind of feeds and it becomes a self-propeller. All right, let's have a look at US 500. So we know that we've come back up to the 5100 level. We know this is a fairly important zone. We're opening up at 5111. So we'll see whether it can hold today. If it does hold, probably looking at further longing up to the first level of around, I would say probably 5180 to 5200 would be the next level for the bulls. Really like the bull pickup here. If you want to know how to pick up that type of replication, we do cover it in the day trading masterclass. It is absolutely a day trading masterclass special. Very, very replicable. That pickup there, actually almost pinpoint accuracy at just under 5,000 is quite achievable on many pairs. Now, here, of course, you're going to have to be a bit more careful. 5,100. We know that if we get underneath this zone, which is, I'm going to give you the price, 50.70, that we're more than likely actually seeing the bears recommit to the smaller time frame. But for now, bulls in control. So if I was to say what's the direction today, of course, it looks bullish at this phase. And unless it gets underneath that 50.70 zone, in general, it's a series of higher highs and higher lows. Let's move to the US 2K. Very similar. Again, in the supply, US 2K coiling up. If it does break through, that breaks the trend line to the downside, gets through the supply, already has a bullish tinge to it on small time frames. So again, there is that inherent bull here, unless the bears get control fairly early. And yeah, it's going to be really down to earnings. And speaking of earnings, remember there are quite a few big earnings reports this week. Do not sleep on the fact that we have on Tuesday in particular, because of course it's not right now. We've got PayPal in the morning. We might look at that later. Then we've got AMD. We have Amazon, Starbucks, and of course the big AAPL later on. If this doesn't perform, this doesn't perform, and this doesn't perform, the markets will sell off. So far, we're kind of doing it better than 50-50. Obviously, we had good result from Google. Fantastic. Microsoft did all right. Fantastic. Meta, we'll look at that in a moment. Didn't do too badly. Just maybe the stock was a little bit heavily priced and it wanted to go down for a minute. And then, of course, now it's Amazon and Apple. What do you guys think? Do you reckon Amazon will beat? Will Apple beat or lose? Let's have a look here. Fraser Green says, thoughts on AMD earnings tomorrow, Tom? We'll take a look at it very soon. And Robert Hughes says, do you want to short banks? Why do I want to short banks, Robert? Why do I want to short banks? Let's have a look here at XLF, okay? Because it's a really important point. And what you're doing when you're saying short banks is you've got to look at your long shorts. Now, if you're not someone that looks at long shorts, you've got to start doing this. The reason is because if you inherently have a bullish tinge to financials beating the SPY, what does that tell us, guys? It's not to pick crap. I'm just saying here, what happens if we have XLF beating the SPY? What does that tell us about financials in general? Ray D says, love the show and data, Tom. Thank you very much, Ray. We've got some great stuff coming over the next coming years. I'm telling you guys, it's, I wouldn't be a huge bear in the next couple of years, guys. I really wouldn't. Presidential year, 2025. They say one thing, they do something completely different. Now, also, the chances of another hike are actually possible. I know you might think that's absolutely ridiculous. It is possible. And I went and did some study on this. This is not the first time this has ever happened. So no matter what, if people say it's crazy and it's insane, a lot of it has to do with the stim. So if you think about it, on one hand, they're saying we're taking it all away. And on the other hand, they're saying, yeah, here you go. You have some more juice. So the economies are juicing. There's no doubt about that. Whether you're looking at Australia, whether you're looking at America, whether you're looking at obviously China, which is being big winner for us. We'll look at that soon. This is very important. So yeah, you got to follow the data, not the narratives on the news, and we'll see. Now, one of the things is everyone's talking about stagflation. Stagflation happens when you have a few different metrics. Number one, we need unemployment to rise. Number two, we need GDP to lower. Number three, of course, we need a lot of inflation. So do we have this one? I would argue yes. Do we have a slowing economy? We don't know. Obviously, one GDP is not going to do it. And then, and remember, GDP is already known by the robots. It's already known by the robots, guys. And number one is that we have unemployment going up. Is it happening? I don't know. But this week is non-farm payrolls. I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Looks like it's still doing pretty well. Remember, to roll out the weird AI world we live in, initially, what do? We employ people. Then what do we do once we employed them and they roll out the AI? We fire them. That might sound brutal, but I kind of feel like that's the type of world that we're going into. And that's generally what happens. Now, to answer the question, we've got financials here making a series of higher highs and higher lows versus the SPY. That tells us that it is theoretically strong. So therefore, we would want to look at financials in a different light when we put them on the charts. Is that a market I want to short? Let's have a look. I mean, you could. Let's come back to a 61.8. So the argument here is that you take a fib, you place a fib here, and then you say, okay, I want to short this level because it hit a 61.8 and it's done some kind of change to the down. It is a level you could short, though I would not short financials. And the reason is because we don't have a reason to on the overall strength indicator. It's not doing anything weaker than the rest of the market right now. And generally, when you want to short financials is when you see a crack in the system. Now you short them all the time. They're very sensitive to cracks in the system. It's a good level from a pure chart perspective. But when you start putting together the strength in the financials recently, I don't think you want to necessarily do it. Another thing you want to do is go to regional banks and see whether they're showing the same signs of weakness. Are the employment numbers real? No idea, Matt. But I mean, like we know, dude, like we know. I think the unemployment number is ridiculous. I remember years ago when I tried to figure out what the hell non-farm payrolls is. By the way, if anyone really knows what it is, let me know. And when you check out the non-farm payrolls and you see that people just fall off it all the time, oh, they're not part of the system anymore. Come on, guys. It is a ridiculous term. Does anyone agree with me that non-farm payrolls is a joke? It's a joke of a number for sure. Thanks for everything. Thanks for checking out. Meta financials are strong and they are beating the SPY, says Justin. All right. Financials are strong. The company is not dead. They just present you with 16,000 ads whenever you use it. I was using Meta on the weekend. I sold something, and then it kept trolling me, guys. I was like looking, and then I thought, oh, that looks nice. Oh, no. Wait a second. That's actually an ad. Lots of ads in there. Lots of ads. And I don't use Facebook or Meta or whatever very much, but it was pretty funny just to see how well they'd integrated the ads. They're clickbaiting me hard. They're clickbaiting harder than YouTube's clickbaiting. 437. So if we have a look at this stock, do I like this? It's not really my type of trade just here. Obviously, it moved down. Very, very strong. This is okay for a position-based trader, someone that's like looking for dollar cost averaging on the stock. Did it fill the gap? No. Did it instantly bounce? Yes. Do I usually prefer that it actually comes down a little bit lower and sits for a few days? Generally, yeah. When I'm doing a replication trade, this is not the type of replication trade I do. It doesn't mean that it's wrong that you bought it. Maybe you have a different system, but it's not my system. So I would say that for me, Meta hasn't really done what I'd want it to do, so I would move on. But if I was trying to buy it at a cheaper price, I mean, generally the metrics look okay. Okay. Is this a great price to buy it? I don't think so. If I wanted a better price to buy it, what would I be doing? Well, there are a couple of things you could do. One, you could take the largest length and you could look for the 61.8, which you'll find is exactly pretty much where it got to. The other thing is you could look for the whole length and then say, well, maybe I want a little bit better structure. Let's get down to this green line down here. There's 200. SMA sits around 373. But you're going to need a bigger correction in the markets. Amazon and Apple are going to have to fail a bit this week to push that narrative. So is Meta still in a bull trend? Yes. Could you argue that's a giant island reversal? So some people are saying gap up, gap down. Certainly, yes. Do I like it here? If as an investor, I don't care. As a trader, do I see edge? I don't see edge. Guys, do you see anything? Let us know in the chat. If you see something, I'll focus it here. NFP is an excuse. Generally agree with you here. Bernie Sanders' mother. is still alive, according to this chat. Black swan event. There is currently a commercial real estate crisis in the US. Assets down up to 40% and disproportionately rented to small, mid-sized banks. All right, thank you, Bernie. I'll say two problems against this. Number one, I and everybody else has known about this, like you have as well, Bernie. I know you have for at least 2 years. So this is not normal. It's not normal, but it's not unusual. Now, in some places, real estate is down in commercial, and in some commercial real estate's up. So I think you'll find if you look at warehouses, they won't be down. It's evil office systems. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is similar to Australia, I would say. So yeah, if you look at offices, absolutely they're down. If you look at warehouses, I'm pretty sure they're up. But someone from the US can tell me. Anyway, if we all know that it's there, and you are right, sometimes black swans look at you in the eye. I would say that commercial real estate is nowhere near as big as some other areas of assets. So therefore, and the type of people that own commercial real estates are generally kind of rich. So I would say it's not systemic. What if the mania and leverage you are looking for in the next few years is from Jason? What if the speculation leverage is AI and crypto market? I know people who have bought crypto with their credit card. There's not enough of them yet. We need more people to buy for that to happen. Of course, people buy crypto with their credit card, but you got to remember they did that back in 17. They did that back in 2020, 2021. So generally a top of markets usually comes with a more sustained trend. It's unlikely. I mean, how long has AI really been the popular trade? 6 months, 9 months, 12 months? Not very long. Usually needs long time in it. Hundreds of the banks are already insolvent because they can't refinance commercial real estate loans. Again, I don't think the commercial real estate is the main issue. I might be wrong, but I've done enough study in history to know that it's not the commercial that usually hits us. Ultimately, it is part of the problem, but you have literally insolvent banks and other things. There are some banks in New York that are completely cooked. However, at the same time, they're still being held up. In some ways, guys, we live in a rando clown world from that aspect, where there is debt everywhere. Some of it is incredibly toxic. But then you go to Japan and you say, what is going on here? How is it that this central bank owns 60 to 80% of its own bond market? It's completely insolvent from the aspect of it. The country is just so stuffed from a banking sector perspective. To create liquidity in the bank bonds and the bonds in general, they have to sell to themselves or sell to the raw market. It is ridiculous. But it's been there in plain sight for many years. It is crazy. Speaking of yen, take a look at this. Quickly look up the old US dollar yen, one of the weirdest currencies to trade and probably dangerous currencies to trade right now. And you will see a nice big move. So they pressed the button. Basically, the market knew where the trigger was. I estimated it was about 159. They hit 160, and then instantly, boom, comes in the central bank. So the central banks come in, done a little bit of skullduggery. 3.37% may not seem like a lot to you, but you've got to remember that is 3.37% of the entire currency. And that's across all the pairs. So this is a massive interjection of the Bank of Japan. This is the experiment gone wrong. We just don't know when it actually goes really wrong. And it's going to go really bad one day. What are the ramifications of the yen volatility of the global economy? I don't believe anything at this stage. If Sailor Moon plans, if Sailor Moon plan, sell your house and buy Bitcoin. What's that mean, left field? Tumos says here, could the allowance of Tesla FSD in China also be positive for HSI? That's stretching it, maybe. I don't think so, but we'll go over here to HSI. Obviously, I'm a fan. Just tapped into 18 just underneath 18. So people that traded that momentum move would be very, very happy. Smiley face for you guys if you got into the 18K. I obviously have more grand hopes for HSI in the future, but it's nice to see China kind of moving back. Everyone can see the inverse head and shoulders. Why I say it's nice to see it moving back, because it's a pretty brutalized market, and it's nice to see other alternatives to just what you usually do, which is of course buy your your FANG stocks, buy your Meta and your Facebook, and the same thing, Google, Microsoft, Apple, whatever, NVIDIA. This is just a different type of thing. You can see technicals playing out, which is very important. And that's why I followed it for a while. It's just because this was just the current FUD. Now, I'm not saying that bad news is not real. It is. It's just that this was FUD and heavy. And there were a lot of ETFs, and there's a great storyline that we've been going over the last 2 months to show why this chart is actually stronger than you think. And I guess in some ways for all of us, it has improved recently. Doesn't mean you had to trade it. You might not even like this market. You might be terrified of this market. That's fine. But at least you can gain a bit of an idea of what's going to happen in the future. I think a great case on that is oil. Let's take a look at oil. Over here, we obviously had incredible geopolitical tensions, yet the entire time oil dropped. Then the other day, we had incredible geopolitical tensions, yet the entire time oil is basically weakened off. This is the reality. This is the so-called buying the rumor, because it's already a known thing by many people in the know that these things are simmering. So when the real fact comes out and we all hear about it, it goes the opposite to what you think. And that's very, very common. So follow the price action, not the narratives, is what I would say here. Fraser Green says AMD pre-earnings. Also, can we have a look at individual stocks in China? No, we may have a look. Is Baba a bye? Says Jeremy. Why do we always talk Baba? Shouldn't we be talking Tencent or something? Looks a lot better there. What are your thoughts on Russia seizing JP Morgan assets? No idea. I thought the other day there was some seizing of Russian assets. I don't know what's going on there. I am not qualified to talk on that, nor do I know what it even does to the markets. So my thoughts would be probably pointless on it. Let's have a look here at oil. So we see some nice bounce wicks off the most traded area. Obviously, I really like 78. That's my kind of favored zone. Got a little weakness here in this daily candle. If we come down to the 2 hour, we are kind of in a strong setup at this stage still for the bulls. So this is a series of higher highs and higher lows. In general, I think around 82 a barrel is relatively defended. I can see why a shorter might sit here. I can see why a buyer might sit in 82 a barrel. So I feel like 82 a barrel may be defended. If we lose 82 a barrel by too much and don't instantly wick back up, I think we're going to that other point, which obviously I prefer, which is down there in the 78 a barrel line. So at the moment, oil's still bullish. Dollar index struggling, but could be a flag. I don't know. We'll have to see more news this week. Remember, FOMC, guys, is on Wednesday. So FOMC Wednesday. So there's the risk. And then, of course, we've got non-farm payrolls on Friday. Also, a shout out here to the almost 850 people that are joining us. Thank you very much. Remember, if you enjoy the streams, please give it a thumbs up and comment down below as well. It does help us out. Do you have any futures trading courses? Certainly do, Justin. We've got the day trading masterclass. In particular, that teaches you what I like to do in terms of replicable setups, which are more based on reactions to the markets and liquidity traps. So they're all about understanding where are the positions of the biggest orders placed. I find replication is key when it comes to indices, when it comes to commodities and currency trading. If you're going to be more of a day trader, you could also use it in swing if you wish to. But yeah, I do, and it's quite good. Long-term investment in something, not sure what that is, TX. Eli says here, Tom, can you elaborate on IPOs not so good this year, but better IPOs in 2025? Yeah, this is my opinion. So capital flow into IPOs has been pretty poor. That's because, in general, the markets have been scared. So if you have a scared market, then which isn't free flowing, also you don't have all-time highs, that kind of basically means that it's very hard to IPO into those. You don't get your nice high multiples. So usually a lot of IPOs shows a very hot market, and also a lot of IPOs can show bubbling markets. So in general, most markets, in my opinion, they don't tend to end until you enter into a real bubble. When the word bubble is used, and I ask this right now, has anyone heard, and I say this honestly, has anyone heard saying the US market is in a bubble recently? I don't know. I don't read enough in the news, so I wouldn't know. But if the market is being written about as being in a bubble, it won't blow up. Anyway, my point is on IPOs is that generally when you have a very hot market, things are doing well, then you tend to see a lot more IPOs. 2021 as an example, yeah? And we saw IPOs everywhere. We saw SPACs. We saw all sorts of things start to appear. And then all of a sudden, it's kind of died. So that means there's a lot less IPOs. I expect 2025 after the election to be a year where IPOs are free flowing. Now, not here to speculate on who's going to win the election. I don't think it matters for the IPO discussion. By the way, we don't get into that, please. We'll have to ban you guys. We don't talk that. We do not talk about politics. But what I am saying is I think the IPOs will be free flowing because there'll be certainty. Markets love certainty. They will generally go up. They also love it to be strung. So generally, if it's a close call, markets will like that. They'll forward project, and then you'll get IPOs. I've heard AI bubble. That is correct. We've got the word AI bubble being used, but we do not have the general broad market in a bubble. Do you have a paid Discord? We don't really use Discord too much. We have a public Discord, which has some great chats in it. This is a question here from, what was your name? Sorry. Pond Boy. We do have, however, on our website, fxevolution.com, a Masters Club where I do daily open streams similar to this, except I answer questions. I go through my picks, those kind of things. It's not a signal service. It's more of I teach you how to fish. I teach you the replication, and then you go through that. It's very, very cool. And you're welcome to join us. 7-day free trial on the website. Tom, can you show us some history of the BTC miners after halving? I don't have that. Again, I know my crypto from the perspective of Bitcoin. I know my crypto from the perspective of what I think the market capitalization is going to get to. So, I'm a pretty big believer in Bitcoin getting into the 3 trillion club potentially this cycle. You might say, well, how's that even possible? The whole crypto market's only worth 2.3 trillion. I just really think that Bitcoin has legs in it. The ETF is more than people think. It's got nothing to do, in my opinion anyway, it's just got to do with alt asset allocation. And I think clients will demand it. And if clients demand it, if you just put 1 to 2% of alt asset allocation, which takes time, by the way, you don't just fund mandate like this. People think it's instantaneous. There's a bit of money in there, but there's nothing like there's going to be one day. And Bitcoin will get, in my opinion, alt asset mandates. And once it get alt asset mandates and people in the industry, it becomes more used for the 50-year-olds, the 60-year-olds, the 70-year-olds that generally have the money, and they start to get that 1% allocation to Bitcoin, it is going to be a big thing for it. And it's going to give it, not gold-like status, but because gold's 12, 14 trillion maybe now with the recent spikes. But, I think gold's going to double. So, I've already said that I think gold's going to 3K. And I said that a long time ago. I still think gold could go even to 4K. And you might say that's insane. And I would say we are in a very strange time, which has multiple countries all wanting it. And these types of assets could appreciate from that. Now, you might think again, I don't even really care too much about the crypto market. I am not a crypto YouTuber, but I do like covering Bitcoin because I think it's a real asset that people use. And that doesn't mean people use it per se, but people are going to use it as a standard. And of course, Ethereum is also another one that you want to be looking at. And the rest, well, then it gets into, you better know your pumps and your dumps because it gets pretty specky. What's actually Bitcoin looking like here, though, right now? I think it is weakening a little bit. Obviously, 62.5 is a bit of a tough point for it. 67, I mean, I would like it to get above there if I was going to get extra bullish on it, or a quick wipe at the low, then I'd get really bullish. That would be an exceptionally good bullish position. But at this point, I would say it looks kind of still weakening. And of course, if it flashes through this 60K closes, I've already said many times, I'm loving 52. So yeah, and 30% is a normal wipe in Bitcoin. I've heard the AI bubble world. Yep, that's right. Will Treasury refunding announcements move markets this week? I doubt it, Mick. Bernie Sanders says Russia seizing GP assets was in response to the US threatening to give Russia the US Treasury bonds, Ukraine, direct TLT, tit for tat thing. Yep, I'm not, again, qualified on that. Doug says thoughts on PLTR and the company that writes the software for NVIDIA. Okay, we've got some nice stories. Let's have a look at Palantir. We'll look at AMD in a moment as well. And of course, Amazon. So Palantir, look, it had a really big fall from grace. Pretty common for stocks like this. They come out, they IPO. You got to be terrified of IPOs in the US, especially in tech. They dump for about 2 years, very normal. They find base, they recover. I think the chart looks okay. It's making a series of higher highs and higher lows. I don't really want to enter in here. And if I was of the opinion of strength, I'd probably want it to break through maybe like something like these highs here of 23, was that 23.28-ish, and then keep strengthening. But yeah, I don't have too much opinions. Speaking of copper, though, and opinions I do have, look at this one go. Oh, damn, guys. The copper trade is paying. I've got to say the miners in general, since we've been discussing them, have been paying. They've been kicking AI's ass. It's the new AI. The old AI is the new AI. Bitcoin today may be signaling its NASDAQ U-turn time. Yeah, the Bitcoin NASDAQ analogy. Obviously, both theoretically risk on assets. Has anyone actually done a study to actually see how good the correlation is? Is it over 50% correlation? I have no idea. Crypto says, when Tesla came out next quarter with weak numbers, etc., we rally because of Elon makes promises. It's a mixture of things. You got to remember, Tesla was heavily sold. It was down 40% in a year where the market was up 20. So Tesla was suffering while the market was going up. On top of that, Tesla's transferring to an AI company. And I think a lot of retail traders can't understand. They look at the number and they say, oh, how can the market be up when the result's so bad? Guys, it happened with Meta. It happened with Tesla. As I say so many times, it happens with so many of these positions. And it happens because it's oversold or overbought. And generally, sentiment is going so negative. How could China be up over the last week when you probably read a newspaper article that said it was going to explode 2 days ago? Watch the price action and understand that your opinion of what you believe is true is limited by the information that you have. This was a great difference for me, okay? I didn't think of it like this. I thought my opinion mattered. It doesn't. Does your opinion matter? Probably not. The price action is the ultimate truth because some boffin, some AI algorithm out there is making a decision to position into a bullish position or to position into a bearish position and to add to those positions. That's why most people that are profitable don't tend to actually look at the narratives. Instead, they look at what is the data telling me in general? What is actually happening on the charts? Do they marry up? Have I seen similar circumstances in the past? Can I stack edge in my favor? When I have edge, I place a position. If I don't have edge, I don't place a position. If I love something, I invest only into it and I don't trade it. Why? Because you have a bias. I don't know. That's my opinion. Is it right? I tend to believe so because we've gone through that quite a few times. All right, let's have a look at AMD. So first up, focus. Let's go through AMD. Let's have a look at what the price action is telling us. So ultimately, it's been very, very bearish. We've sold from 227 all the way down. And I think the metric has been not so good, actually, even though it has greens here. I think the earnings were strange in recent times. Maybe not as good as you would expect for a stock that went up this much. So it's dropped an epic 36% leading into this. That's actually quite a lot of drop. So 36% down in AMD. It's hit into the 61.8 of the last move. Now, this is theoretically a very good zone for a position-based trader to buy in. And the reason is quite simple. Number one, we have demand over here on the left-hand side. We have a previous high that sits around the same zone, showing us the key of this level and why this is such an explosive break. Then we have the 61.8. We have an epic sell-off. It's quite large. So generally speaking, here is where I can see some people trying to position. Problem is you've got earnings now. So can you guess the earnings? Maybe you could forward project them and try to make out that you're more knowledgeable than the market. I would say you're probably going to be wrong most of the time on that. It's a fool's errand. But the price action itself is slightly bullish. It hasn't broken through any of the key levels. So I would think that probably around here is key because you can see the market structured in that zone. It then took it and then went to a big, fast flash sell that went through about $10, $15 of price. And now it's kind of turning towards the upside. So you've also got here a 20 moving average on the downside. Everything's interjecting and around this price, which is probably where we almost find ourselves today. So 162, very important for AMD. I do think that that's going to be, a make or break for the bulls and the bears. Unfortunately, we can't make any better decision there because all we know is that we like the 61.8. Another opportunity would be that the market comes out with the bad earnings and pushes down here, and then we end up rallying after the bad earnings. Now, if that happens, similar to Tesla, it's telling you something. Initial reaction was down in this case, different to Tesla, but then someone rallied it above the key point. If they did that, very good buy generally. And that's when you're going to have edge. When you see these replications, when you go, oh, I saw that happen 150 times and I would win 75% of those times. Hey, that's edge. Crypto Pappy says, I used to gamble on earnings after market close, lost more than I won. Yep, good. Thank you. Share that. Please, guys, we've got 850 of you here. Give it a thumbs up as well. Please share if you've taken a loss and you've made a screw up mistake. Because people won't say that I am telling necessarily the truth. I want to hear from you guys. What have you done? Have I done that before, Crypto Pappy? Yes. Is it a mistake? Yes. Have I speculated on buying the dip on crap stocks that have bad trends? Yeah. Did I learn to buy the V instead of buying the crappy dip? Yeah, of course. Buying the V predominantly is good unless you're investing. Buying the V is a trading success. Are you more profitable? Okay, here's the price. Here's the support. Are you more profitable generally buying here, expecting this, or are you actually more profitable buying here as it breaks through? The answer is the right-hand side. So if you do have a story where you've stuffed up and you've made a bad decision, it could be 100,000, could be 1 million, could be 2 million. There are people in this community that I've met over the time of doing this. You'd be surprised. Trading 5, 10, 15, $20 million accounts, even larger. And you might say, well, why aren't they talking with JP? Because you'll find that JP aren't giving them good advice at 15 to 20 million. It's not enough. Okay, so Matt says not good in terms of afters. Fraser says bought Jan 2025 250 AMD calls. Oh, that's pretty high. As the 61.8 fib hit. Oh, okay, cool. How would you hold these into earnings, Tom? Well, obviously they're going to hold. You're so far away from price, man. You're not going to be too heavily affected. I mean, into earnings, you're always going to have a higher volatility. So technically your call will hold a little bit of implied vol. So as it, as the earnings comes out and that sucks out of the market, that's going to devalue it a little bit. But ultimately, I think you're trading with small percentage moves, and you've got obviously a pretty large pick. And you'll go through another earnings and another earnings before that even expires. So it's up to you. But this is the right area. You got the right area. So there you go. Buy the V for Chinese stocks right now. Tencent, JD, BYDD, DD, Baba. Yep, we'll look at those soon. I'm watching your show for 2 months now. I'm up 543% in my futures account in April alone, Tom. Mikey. Firstly, congratulations. Secondly, I want you to stop taking leverage. Please, Mikey, keep your money. I want you to keep your money. Okay? I love your percentage. It's glorious. Now, I want you to go outside. I want you to smash a watermelon. Okay? If they're cheap, but if they're not cheap, smash something else. Then I want you to come inside. Then I want you to down your leverage. All right? And then I want you to keep doing the same thing with less leverage. Why? Because I want you to maintain your profits. I want you to build the sweet business of success. You're going to level up and you got a nice base. And hopefully 543% was on $100,000. That's what I want to see. All right. Please don't lose it, Mikey. But congratulations. Kevin says, Mikey, Tom is saying take your profits. Yeah, Fruit Ninja. That's right. We've got to do the Fruit Ninja. That is exactly what has to happen. Mikey, better leave a Google review. Mikey, leave a Google review before you give up any of your 543% profits. But I hope you've done it the right way. Now, I'm going to guess. I'm just going to guess this, guys. That Mikey went out, and this is what he did. He went, Tom likes gold. Let's have a quick look at gold. Then we'll keep going. He goes, yeah, baby. Oh, that's going long. All in. All in. Stop loss. He's like, woo, baby, yeah. Anyway, I hope that's not right. I hope that's not what's happened. But I have a feeling that Mikey, 543% ain't normal return, dude. It's possible, of course, but it's only possible with leverage. Anyway, well done, bro. Thank you very much for your wise words. I didn't even join yet. Yeah, I know you've just been watching the show. There's a bit of what they call it, alpha. The show has alpha, guys. Do you reckon the show has alpha? I think the show has alpha. Let's have a look here at the gold trade at this point. Chawa says, you got a lot of tabs, man. What if I was to tell you I know which tab does everything? What if I said this is the VIX? Boom. There you go. See? Got to have a lot of tabs, dude. More tabs, more money. More tabs, more money. All right. Let's go over here to gold and more RAM. I need 64 gigabytes of RAM. Minimum. Min spec is 64 gigabytes of RAM. Then you're well on your way to being a YouTuber that makes these daily shows. All right, let's go over to gold perspective here. So I do like gold. There's a bear position and a bull position on gold. So there's a bear position that was right there before, and there's a bull position that sits somewhere around here. Now, I don't know who's going to win. Of course, I would always go with the bull side generally because you are in an upward trend. I really like this level for where the bulls were. But of course, if that level gets taken, we're moving lower on gold. And it is due a relatively nasty move, I think, to the downside. But this perspective here is important. Also, keep your eye on DXY this week because if dollar index breaks out to the upside, I don't want to be long gold for a little bit. I am still going to hold my longs because, of course, I have longer plans for them. Very bullish gold long term here. But for the small time frames, I wouldn't be that bullish. In terms of the perspective where I think the bulls are defending on small time frames, about 23.15 would be kind of the area where I think they're defending. Daily trade, you'll notice here, a few weeks up the top, a few weeks down the bottom. Kind of nasty coming into my key zone here, my key demand on the left. So, yeah, we're still maintaining bullish around this level of 2 kind of 15, 220. And we want to see that thing breaking through this level here, which is 235, and then hopefully can push. Is that a Mac? Yes, it is. I have a Mac to get 65 gigs of RAM. I will need leverage. I have Google Ads. No, no, I don't have Google Ads. Google Ads alone will not pay for the 64 gig of Mac RAM. But I know what you're saying, yeah. Tom, thank you for the show. Microsoft really puzzled me. Good earnings, but keeps going down. Is it now time to liquidate Microsoft in my portfolio? I think I'm still bullish on Microsoft, but you'll notice I'm way less bullish than I was. The Google is the new Microsoft for me. Microsoft's one of the best moat companies in the market. It's obviously got great earnings generally. This is pretty crappy price action. It's kind of, come back into the 20 moving average. You can see here that it's hit 2 ribbons. Price has made a series of higher highs, then a lower low. So that's kind of actually a negative for Microsoft. So just price action alone is negative. Now, unfortunately, I can't be bearish on Microsoft. I like it too much. So yeah, it's a little negative. I think frankly, just the multiple is so high on this stock and it's cumbersome. Microsoft's been glorious for years, but it is getting cumbersome. I don't know. I mean, I still hold it. I just think that it's less attractive at these prices than I've ever seen it for a long time. The last time it was this badly attractive was when Steve Ballmer was going wild on stage. Has anyone ever seen that? I'm not even sure if that's allowed to be played, but that was so funny. Has anyone ever seen Steve Ballmer going psycho on stage? I gotta, oops. I can't remember if you're allowed to play this or not, but my goodness. Uh, It's so good. It gets sweats on, has a heart attack. Love it, bro. You got to watch this after the stream. Steve Ballmer cutting sick. Technically, it was the best time to buy the stock because he went psycho, and then Microsoft released Office 365. Oh my goodness, that's the best. Love that. Love Steve Ballmer's energy. Coked up Ballmer, yeah. Yeah, imagine Steve Ballmer on wrestling, WWE. That would be pretty good. Okay, let's go to the next one. So next one is Amazon. Yeah, I agree. I do not like the Microsoft price action. I'll be real. So Amazon goes bad, comes good into earnings, obviously flying a little bit here. I am quite a decent believer in the Amazon business model. I've got a lot of lines here, but you can ignore them a little bit. They're from old points. So generally speaking, we just hit an all-time high the other day at 188. Obviously, it's bounced with an impressive wick last week. Now, because it's got such an impressive wick, it just tells you that inherently there's someone that's so bullish on this stock. What a great level if you were being able to pick that up on the day. Really nice zone. If that did get taken, there's a lot of risk to Amazon stock. Next level is quite low. So at the moment, I guess you would be inherently bullish on it. It did hold its low, and it's in general an upward trend. Earnings will ultimately be the decider. The one thing I will say about Amazon is it won't benefit from AI heavily until a little bit later on. So recently I shared like a Morgan Stanley report, which showed you that the starts like NVIDIA, semiconductors, etc. Then it went AAPL, Tesla, that kind of thing in terms of, the providers of all sorts of weird AI, weird and wonderful products. And then the next winner is going to be the workforces and the real instigation of it. I think we're quite a few years away from that. But regardless, a strong company obviously has many great techniques. With regards to correlation between NASDAQ and BTC, pop on the NASDAQ chart, add correlation coefficient indicator and add BTC to that. Okay, Michael, might check that out. Cool, man. Is the correction over, says AJ? Oh, it's hard to tell always with corrections. I obviously, look, I would hope, and you guys can tell me here in the chat, I would hope that I was pretty clear that the 20 weekly moving average is very good. Okay. As a investor, DCA person, whatever the hell you want to be, it's generally pretty good. The 50 is also tasty. Don't get me wrong. 5,100, where we are right now, is a very important point. If you go back to the US 500, not only is it a core wall kind of perspective, important zone, but the next level is obviously sitting around this 5150 as a 61.8. So I'm not sure, but I'd say the bears, the last real return is here. After that, or bull all day, bull all day after that. So could you, look, I'd be bullish, of course. I think that that's important to be. This is possible, but at all the metrics you have currently right now are bullish. They're all bullish. And if we turn to a positive gamma environment, which we're obviously very close to doing, I think 5150 is where this is technically moved to after some more information's come out. But yeah, this area here is really the last point in here. So yeah, it could be all over. Could be. I hope not. I kind of would rather it down a little bit lower. Xiaomi and BYD already been approved for FSD in China 6 months ago. Yeah, Tesla's just riding high. It's just squeezing, guys. Super bullish on Amazon and Google. They really like trading places as top stocks in my long term. Cool, Matt. Very cool. Nice work. Farmer excited about going to a Ute muster. Yep. And Chaz says, what do you think about utilities? Yeah, utilities is a good one that I'm actually looking at. You might say, Tom, why the hell do you like utilities? That is the most boring market segment I've ever heard of. I think it's really improving. Now we've got, of course, my downward trend line here. I feel like utilities is like someone that's really bearish on the market. They still want to be in, but then they're terrified. That's utilities. Now, is there anything wrong with utilities? Generally, yes. Right now, though, I might like them more than normal because utilities have all of the prospects that I like. A series of course, lower highs being breached out. Nice. An improvement on XLU versus SPY. Very important long short. If you guys don't know long short, I would have to recommend that you consider doing the advanced masterclass. By the way, I might give a shout out to Frank. Actually, a few people recently, I've got to say, not only did we have 543% from watching just the Daily Show Alpha before, but I've got to say there's been some guys that have done incredibly well with good risk management, and I'll shout them out. They've done very, very nicely, and they've managed to turn their accounts around. I told you guys the other day, someone, I'm not going to say what he was watching, but he was watching a few other channels, and he went in the hole about 70 Gs. And I shared this, and a few people said it was pretty impressive, and he managed to turn it around and bring it back out of that hole after obviously October, and he's managed to get back into positives. So, congratulations to him to being able to do that. More importantly, to have the mental fortitude to pull it back in the right kind of way. Also, I'd like to say that quite a few people have been taking some very nice gold, some very nice metals plays. It doesn't have to be AI all day, although AI all day is pretty good too. And it's been impressive watching people do it with different sectors outside of what Wall Street and retail traders always need to think about and do. So has XLU improved recently? Yes. Is it beating the SPY in recent months? Yes, since we started talking about it. So I do like XLU. I do think that we're going into the AI kind of boom still. And you might say, how can we go into an AI boom when we already saw an AI boom? It'll be different weird companies. And I think that they use a lot of electricity. And to me, XLU is a interesting defensive play. So that is coming. Let's go to PayPal. PayPal's coming out tomorrow morning. Have to load PayPal here on the charts. So PayPal does have some nice charting. We broke through a similar trend line to utilities a while ago, which obviously I did like. So that was back in January. Now, frankly, it's been a bit disappointing since then because it hasn't really done much. It's been sitting around. It's gone down. It's obviously had some nice percentages off the bottom. Looking for this level here of 71. Inverse head and shoulders also play if we get past. Obviously, the earnings will matter. Volume has remained pretty decent, which shows us that someone's probably building a position. So PayPal could be good. What do you think, though, chat? PayPal good or bad on the earnings? Tell me. 4 minutes off the open. We'll get into that in just a moment. Getting ready for an open. Good day. NEE. Yep, that is there. CGC is a hot tamale that I've seen recently. CGC. Oh, these things. Oh, my goodness. Do we really have to still talk about these? It's not 2017 anymore. Yeah, look at that. That is a base with some big volume. I think it's purely speculative. These are, as I said many, many years ago, somebody asked me, do you see people spec in these? And I said, yeah. Generally, the best specs I've seen are people that just kind of have a certain amount of allotted money and they go to random stocks and they just go, okay, maybe it's 1K, and they just throw a K into it and walk off and then hope for a 100X. You'd be surprised. Some of these guys that are pretty good at picking these weird positions sometimes do get some monsters. I don't think that thing's going to do 100X, but down here it did pretty good X, 3X. PayPal should be okay. Me no likey the PayPal, says Kevin. Purely speculative. Yep. It could be. UNG falling wedge. Man, you guys love natural gas. Let's have a look. We're about to open, guys. We're 3 minutes off the open. Big week this week. Second largest earnings week. Obviously, stick around for the close show today as well. It'll be a big one. Tesla, the big story of the morning, up on FSD news from China. We got natural gas pulling a little bit of a bullish renaissance here. It's coming back up. As we reported many, many times, different models for natural gas, but we do think that this is probably the low in terms of temporary low. Natural gas, not an easy trade. They call it the widowmaker, has massive rolls. Be careful in futures contracts. You can see here that it has gone to this level a few times. Obviously, 2 rejections here, no closure above. Will be important to close above this wick. And that will then mark a few weeks that it's gotten above. And I think that's a very good turning point. So 2.010 to 2.1, something like that. Be a very nice close for natural gas this week. All right, 2 minutes, guys. We have gold, relatively bullish. We've got Chinese stocks just hitting their first TPs. We've got people that want to look at a couple of Chinese stocks. Let's have a quick look here at some of the big ones. We'll start off here with Baba, just because this is becoming kind of the thing that people are talking about. I am not a fan of this stock. I think it is the worst of the main stocks, so I'm going to cop it when it goes up. It's definitely not leading. Tencent would be leading. You can see here weakness. In general, decent accumulation pattern. Volume is okay. Second company is JD. Let's have a look at JD. People like JD. 1 minute coming in. Much better. Inverse head and shoulders broke out in the previous session. You'll see here we have inverse head and shoulders, we have neckline, we have a change of trend in general. 25 probably defended where it is right now is already in the momentum trade. So again, nice looking one. Actually, an island reversal off the bottom now as well. So nice, but nothing really compares to 10 cent. 10 cent being one of the biggest. And you can see that's been leading for quite a few weeks. So just shows you that the quality comes back first, and often you should look at which one's leading. All right, we are coming into the open now, so let's get on. We've got 0.35 up on the US 500. NASDAQ's up 0.46. We've got Tesla, the real story. Let's see how that opens. Open about 12% at this point. And here we go. We're about to do it. Let's go. 188. First tick of trade coming in. There we go, guys. We've opened up 12% officially on Tesla off FSG news in China. I think it will, it'll probably lose a little bit early. But 0.36, Bitcoin obviously showing weakness as well. So risk off in some ways at the pinnacle point of the US 500. And copper really also a standout from today's trade. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether Tesla can hold it. Do you guys think, let's put a bet on here. What do you think? Under 10 or over 10% by the end of the day? So under 10% or over 10%? We are trading at 10.62, so that's kind of even. Truly Messiah says, ding, ding, ding. Absolutely. Baidu killed it. Yeah, we'll have a look at Baidu as well. Move over to BIDU. Again, these are just where the money seems to be flowing. As I did share, $3 billion in assets. Baidu doing well. Still not through my trend line. Very nice chart, though, in general. So you can see here, 3-pillar low. So I love these 3 lows. Usually shows me good Wyckoff kind of action. Look for that volume. Volume remained relatively consistent. Very good. Shows me that some sneaky cat has been probably purchasing. And once we break through here, we're kind of looking at pullback or even long scaling. So in general, a pretty nice low steal. Yeah, I like it. Looks all right, especially if it breaks up. Big Silver says, I don't gamble on irrational clown stocks. Big Silver taking some of my concepts in there. Now, do we have any chat from before that was in the storylines? And maybe Texas Redman said, I lost 98K selling puts in the second week of April. Oh. Selling puts second week of April. My goodness, dude. Thank you very much for sharing that story, though. DB says, been around for years. The show has alpha. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alec. Appreciate it. Always good. Mikey says, I'm trading ES 22 ticks at a time. Good luck, man. Tom's tab game is impressive. 64, 62 gig, whatever it is, a RAM, lots of RAM. Tom, good about Microsoft. Have profits cause losses with taxes? Finding short-term trading sucks here in the US. I think that the shorter game versus the positional game is going to change a lot over the next decade. Let's have a look at what's leading here this morning. So I'm going to quickly look for the leaders. Let's do the leaders. What's leading? What is losing? We will find out in a moment. I'm going to guess that it's probably a day of big tech, because yields are a little down. All right, so it's actually a bit of risk on. You can see here that we've got solar up strong this morning, 2.21. Then consumer discretionary, which is interesting. Communications down. They're probably telling us Meta is down 1.16 because Meta's a big component of it. And then we've got utilities up 1%. Oh, utilities, you dog. Look at it go. 1% up. Doing pretty nice, all the utilities. XLF up 0.12. Gold having a sleeper after a strong Friday. So it's really the utilities play starting to come through, because TAN is technically a utilities play. It's obviously solar. So if we have a look here and we get to 10 and we load that up, you're going to notice that we have a very horrible looking chart. Okay. And I appreciate that. Can we have a take on Barrick? We'll look at Barrick in a moment. What are your opinions on Argentina? Argentina, Chile, South America. I think it's pretty strong. If you give me the code for Argentina, we'll have a look. Yeah, emerging markets interest me at the moment. First time I can ever say so in my career. I have never, ever, ever had to trade emerging markets ever. Ever. And you might say, well, Tom, why? Because they had a lost decade, guys. A lost 15 years. Lost 15 years. So solar here out strong. Now, this usually only benefits from a weakening overall yield. Oh, it's so low, guys, but it's so tough to buy. And you can see volume has remained very strong for quite some time. To me, it shows signs of wipes. If you want to be a real specker, you could buy solar and then obviously put stops below the low. But yeah, it's a bit of a spec. So not bad closure. I can see some signs of turn here. I do like the fact that it wiped this low. So yeah, I would say solar is not the weakest I've ever seen it at this point. All right, let's have a look at Barrick, which is GOLD on the charts. So if you ever want to know Barrick, GOLD, and then we actually have to find it. There it is. Now, why is everyone interested in Barrick? So obviously I like GDX, which is just all the stocks, because I think Barrick actually underperforms. So a good way to look at it is if you go gold versus GDX, you're going to then load up the fact that Barrick is underperforming versus GDX, which means it sucks. But hey, that's not my opinion. It's what the market believes. Oh, why did we lose our Barrick? There we go. Okay, so yeah, it's here. What about it? I'm not too sure. It's all right. I mean, it's like any of the other GDX stocks in some ways. It's holding within a nice range. I think it's relatively strong. I think it'll probably perform better than gold. XLU making up makes me nervous on the S&P. It'll happen for years, man. I've done a lot of studies into this. It's stuff within stuff within stuff. Connor says here, been watching the show for 2.5 years. Thank you very much, Connor, and everyone else that has been doing that. Definitely adds alpha, even if it's just a sense of community and confidence in your trading. Thanks, Tom. No worries, Connor, and I'm glad you get some value in it. Thomas says here, Barrick also mines copper, takes on that. Well, obviously I'm bullish on copper, so that's good. Problem is probably Barrick is not, whatever it is, maybe it's cumbersome, maybe it's too large. Something's obviously wrong with it because the market's been sniffing it out for a while. There are better copper plays than Barrick. Maybe it'll turn it around in earnings. I don't know. You live in an emerging market? Man, no, dude. We got 10 companies here in Australia. Believe me, you guys are going to be jelly of our economy over the next 1 year. when the geopolitical tensions go up, and then we have like the iron ore, we got the red dirt, we got the copper dirt, we got the aluminum dirt, or metal in this case. We've got it all. Could be a nice day trade on Peloton. Oh my God, Joe. Really? Peloton? It's come back. Wait, let me guess. $6. Oh, it's worse than $6. Oh, that's bad. Now, I called this the Ab Cruncher 6,000 years ago. And that was a joke to say it should have been on one of those late night infomercials. And boy, oh boy, is this a study in why you should never buy a company with no, let me repeat, no moat. No moat. Horrid, guys. Never get stuck. This would have shreked people. Oh, it's terrible. 326. Oh, no. Wow. How are the stores still alive in America? When I was there were all these Peloton stores. Holy moly, it's bad. Okay, it's very disappointing. I don't know. Could be a day trade. To me, it is not. That is absolutely terrible. I want to look at another one now. that I haven't looked at in a while. Here we go. BYND. I'm assuming it's slightly better than Piton. So bad. Oh, wow. Wasn't this like a $150 stock? I remember saying that this thing had no moat as well. Oh, it's bad, guys. Oh, when there are a bunch of guys that love this stock in the community, like not here, but around. Holy moly. That's so bad. Yeah. It's bad, guys. No moat, says James. It's like when you've got like a castle, man. You got crocodiles, you got hippos, you got electric eels in your moat, and so people can't get in. Put up the drawbridge, you can't get in. That's the concept. Yeah, basically you've got a business that is very difficult to start up, very hard to compete in. And yeah, it's like Microsoft. Can you really compete with Microsoft software? Not easily. So, do you want to go make a word competition? I wouldn't go fight Office's 365 system. Neither would I fight half of their businesses because it's just too expensive. It's not worth attacking that industry. So, yeah, you want a big moat. In the case of vegetarian burgers or vegan burgers or whatever they are, we do not have a moat because I could make this in my house and then sell it. I wouldn't feed Beyond Meat to people on death row. Oh, look at miso. Miso. Oh, miso blast. Holy moly. It's $1. My dentist told me, he goes, Tom. I said, yeah. He goes, what do you think of miso blast? So what do you think of miso blast? I said, it's one of those things that always crashes. He's like, nah, dude, I'm in it. It's going long. Look at him. He's up, guys. He's up. The dentist knows miso blast. It's not a good stock. Germany is selling a bit. Looks like a double top on the 1 hour. The DAX has recovered very, very strongly. So the market generally here has been a little bit bullish. Obviously, it's early days from the session. See whether it can hold up. We've given the kind of key level, I think, from the negative side, which is going to be, unfortunately, down a little bit lower. So you're looking at around that 50, 70. Currently where it is, it's heading into positive gamma situation. Today's daily close is important. I would say it won't be able to do much because it doesn't have the catalysts. It's going to need Amazon. It's going to need AMD. And then later this week, of course, Apple, FOMC. So guys, don't forget, we've got Tuesday, big earnings here. Not this one. Then we've got Wednesday, FOMC. Papa Powell comes to annoy us. Statement straight after, 30 minutes after, okay? Then we've got general thought process on Friday, which is non-farms, and Thursday, which is Apple. So it's an action-packed week. In general, you would be better to be bullish than bearish in markets generally if you have a longer-term opinion. If you're a day trader, if you're a scalper, if you're someone that's looking for a swing, here is interesting to look for a possible turn point towards the downside just because it is possible to happen here. There are always new opportunities. Come from an abundance mindset, guys. There are trades everywhere. I was going through this on the macro. There are so many different positions. Last week, we saw Tesla move to the upside from being really negative. I've crapped on about China stocks for a while. I've crapped on about gold. We've talked about oil. We've nailed several positions together as a community. I've talked about copper. Obviously, I talked about semiconductors weakening. I do still believe in semis, though. I wouldn't be concerned about their longer-term prospects. And I've got to say, on the crypto world, I'd say I'm confused. At the moment, of course, it looks bearish on the small time frames. So this one here, maybe it's the linchpin. We'll find out whether crypto gets through 60, because if Bitcoin does, watch out for illiquidity. And what I mean by that is if there won't be many orders sitting under 60, so it can flash crash. And you've got to be very, very careful about that. NVIDIA dumping again. So NVIDIA would have hit the key level this morning. So my level, not quite. Wait, when did I put my level at? Is it 887? Why did I use 887? Must have been the most traded zone. Oh, so close. Yeah, this is where I expected some weakness to come in. Let's have a quick look at the NASDAQ, just to see if it came and hit the same level. Yeah, NASDAQ hit the same level. So NASDAQ NVIDIA, a lot of those stocks hit the key res points. So you can see why it's kind of selling. It's a very pivotal day, but it's not going to be a catalyst like an Amazon or an AMD will be. But if we get through this zone, we hold it, putting us in a positive gamma environment, which really shows you're really looking for that strong end, not upside. JPY USD is imploding. Okay, let's have a look here. It was down about 3 and a bit % when we first started. Oh, it hasn't moved. Or has it moved? No. Okay, you scared me there. Intel new line of CPU is junk. There you go. Intel is falling like a brick. Do you think it will bounce or fall into oblivion? It's a great question on INTC. Intel has been such a horribly weak stock for a very long time. I obviously had $40 targets for it last year. It went higher than that, but I don't care. This was my target. I had $40 targets. We talked about it many, many times. 40 to 44, which is obviously very clear support becomes resistance level. Went higher. It's coming back down to the horror show. Look, that guy was meant to be turning it around. This new CEO. It's a horrible stock. It's a horrible stock. You know, I liken it to IBM and Cisco. They're just terrible. Look at IBM. I mean, it's just crap. It's just crap. It's crap here and it's crap here. Let's now go to the next one. Cisco. All right. It's crap here, 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 it's crap here. Now, next week when I'm sponsored by Cisco, I love Cisco. What great products they make. But right now, it's pretty crap. Do not buy horrible late cycle stocks. And, the thing is, I was thinking about Cisco the other day. And I was doing, I think that in this world, we've lost critical thought. Now, I'm not saying I'm the best critical thought, nor am I the smartest person in the world. But to my opinion, I was thinking about, let's say we go into an AI boom and a bust. Do you think that the best stock to buy, would it be better to buy NVIDIA out of an AI bust and let's say Google, okay? And you just buy those two stocks and let's say you had 10 grand, put your 10 grand into it. Or would you be better off picking 10 quality stocks and putting $1,000 into each one and then holding them for 10 years? What do you think, guys? So you're going to either buy NVIDIA and Google when the market, let's say the market drops 80%. Buy NVIDIA and Google or buy 10 of the quality stocks and put $1,000 in each one. What do you think? What do you really think about IBM? I think it's trash as an overall net positive stock. Now, in recent times, the actual chart looks a lot better on IBM, but because it broke that downward trend. But yeah, it's not been a good position. It caught Buffett off guard a few times. So Shane says here 10 quality stocks. No way, INF, but thank you very much. Are you guys getting ads in between? The overlords of Google maybe I'll earn $20, guys. You'd be surprised how bad live streams are. And actually get donations. You'd be talking about, I do it just because I like talking with you guys. I'm telling you. I think that a live stream net you about $20. Maybe less. 10, I'd split my risk for show. Peter, absolutely. Doug IE says NVIDIA plus Alphabet. Depends on the quality stocks probably, but NVIDIA and Google because that's where the flow is going and have moats. Well, you remember it's changed. So you've got an 80% down market. So you're betting on NVIDIA being the next winner. The reason I bring it up is because Cisco was once a great company, okay, or deemed as a great company. And it was like on the forefront. Now, I was thinking if this crashed back then with the information that we knew, you might have been tempted to buy Yahoo. You might have been tempted to buy Cisco. You might have been tempted to obviously buy Amazon, Google. They were all around, don't get me wrong, AAPL. So these are some of the stocks that you might have had in a basket in Microsoft, and you would be correct on some of them. Tick, 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 tick. Ooh, not good. It still came back, but not good compared to the rest. And ooh, not good. So what I guess I'm getting at is just because you think right now NVIDIA is the best, no company is forever. IBM was once the best. You know what I mean? GE was once the best. They aren't the best. after a while. And I think to move with the times, you've got to consider that maybe you're not the smartest in the world, and therefore basketing during those times could be interesting. If you enjoy that type of content and more, please remember to subscribe, guys. We had a pretty good session in terms of talking about some great things, some really in-depth discussion. AAPL is up 4%. So we'll end here. It's not above my previous trade zone yet, so it's not out of the woods at this point. But this is a strong move considering where it was, which is a very negative position. It's strengthening into that 178. We get this. Yeah, I think Apple's bottom is probably in. So remember, Apple should be an AI company. I don't know what they're doing. I've said this for years. But 178, very interesting zone. Still a res for me. Strong day. Might even try to push that 178. Obviously, some money's flowing into it ahead of this week's earnings. But manages to break through 178, then to me, it's strengthening because of the nature of this low still. But we don't know that yet, so we'll have to find out. KO is forever. KO will fail once they get the Star Trek replicators. There you go. Matt leaves us with a look into the horizon. Imagine if that became real. That would be crazy wild. Good companies get taken over by incompetent managements. Intel. Yeah, too true. Too true. Thank you, Gavin. I agree, Tom. IBM is absolute trash company, and I have personal experience with them. There you go. It's just, look, maybe they don't like me saying that, but the problem is the price action doesn't lie. It's not my opinions, what the market told us. The market said it's trash. It's not, again, our opinions don't mean much. It's trash. The market said so. And that's what happens. Be careful out there today, guys. Good luck in this week's earnings. Watch Bitcoin very closely. VIX obviously still above 15, so anything can happen. Remember, we still close above the 15. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for giving a thumbs up on the Daily Show. It really does help me out. And I do appreciate each and every one of you. I really want to say that. You were awesome when I've met you all in person. I hope to meet more of you on the horizon in the future. And it's great to hear so many of you have turned your trading careers and investment careers around by being a little bit more open to both sides. But in particular, just remember, in general, it does pay to be an optimist in markets. There are times to be a pessimist. And I'm sure at one point we will find that. And there are also times to say, you know what, this stock doesn't look too good and we're getting a sector rotation. To make money ultimately that beat S&P, you must be able to rotate through positions. And I hope the last 3 months to 6 months has shown you that. Semiconductors, into Russell, into minerals and metals, into gold, into energy. We've done it all. We've moved all over the place. And that's what's going to take when in most years, 7 out of 10 years, that's what's going to happen. Be very careful with leverage after about this year. I think 25 might be good. I think 26 is going to be very careful. And 27, if we do keep going bull into that point, I'd be getting terrified, all right? I'll just be real. Because we are in a fairly broken system. And unfortunately, the house of cards has already started. Of course, commercial real estate being the beginning of that. Thank you so much. Good luck. And we're catching you. Jason says, is Nutrien turning? Let's have a quick look at Nutrien to finish off. The evil Nutrien. 2.38%. Yep, looks good. That's a nice gap up off a gap down. So obviously stronger move on Nutrien. This is one we covered recently, not inside of this normal stream, but yeah, we've talked about it. Okay, good. Very cool. Catch you guys. Bye. Let's go Tesla. Good luck, Terrence. I hope you go damn well, man. Damn well.